Hi everybody, Jamie Cloninger here, the Board Game Man. In this episode, we're going to go back to 2017. This game is from FloodGate Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game, but they do have an expansion where you can go up to 5 to 6 players. And there are some other expansions that add to the game that they made in just the past 3 or 4 years. It is called Sagrada. In this game, we are artisans trying to make the most beautiful stained glass windows. Here is one of the examples. Here's one of the player cards that the players put the dice in. It's a dice drafting game. And what I mean by the most beautiful stained glass window is whoever has the most points in the game. So let's head on over to the gamers table and I will show you how to play Sagrada. Alright everybody, welcome to the Gamers Table. Let me go ahead and show you the components of Sagrada, and then I'll show you how to play. First and foremost, you do have the really nice instructions, very colorful. It's just pretty much just 4 pages total. The front, 2 on the inside, and the back. Very easy to read. You'll be playing in no time. They actually did a really good job of showing you how to play this game. So here are the instructions. You also have the window frame player boards. There are 4 of these. Each one has a different color. You also have the round track, which is keep track of what round you're in. Whoever has the most points after 10 rounds wins the game. And then you flip it over, and this is your point card, your score track is what I should say. So what you do is as soon as you're done with the game after the 10 rounds, you flip it over. And then this is when you start to keep score. You go through all your dice and the cards, and you find out how many points you have. Here are the score markers for each player. These are the window pattern cards. And each player is going to start off with 2 of these. You choose one to keep, and I'll go over that as soon as I show you how to set up. These are your favor tokens right here, which are pretty cool. These are little white beads that they have in the game. You also have the tool cards. These are cards that you are able to purchase along the way to help you to score your points in the game. You also have these, which are your private objective cards, which I'll go over in a moment. And these are the cards that have the gray shaded dice on the front. And these cards have the blue-sided. These are the public objective cards where everyone's trying to score whatever you have to try to do on these cards, which I'll go over that as well. And then the star of the game are the dice. You have 90 dice that are in this game, 5 different colors of 18 each. And there is all the components of Sagrada. Let me go ahead and set this up so I can show you how to play. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you the setup here. Each player, I'll do a 4-player game. I'll just do a couple moves, that way you can see what's going on. So each player will receive one of these templates, and every player will receive these cards here. Each player is going to receive 2 of those. We'll just say 2 for this player, 2 for this player, 2 for this player, and 2 for this player, and the rest go in the box. Now what each player is going to do is they're going to look at these cards and they're going to figure out which one of these they want to play in the game. Now you'll see some dots in the bottom right hand corner. This shows how difficult that card is. So for instance, they have 5 pips here. This one has 4. This one has 5, and this one has 4. I believe some of like this one here has 6, as you can see. And some of them either, I think they have a 3 or 4 on some of these. Yeah, here's a 4 on this one. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 is maybe the lowest one. But anyhow, so that kind of shows you what the most difficulty. And the reason for knowing that is however many pips you have on the bottom of your player card, you will receive these. These are the favor tokens, which I'll go over in a moment. So let's just say this player decides I want to play with this one. There's 5 pips on the bottom. So you're going to go ahead and discard the second card that you did not choose. Okay. You're going to put 5. You're going to receive 5 of these favor tokens. And I'll show you what these are in a moment. So the number of pips you have on your card, that's how many favor tokens you will get. And what you'll do is you're going to slide this in to your player card, just like so. You slide it on in, and that is going to be the player card that you're going to play during this game. So what you'll do is you're going to have this here. You're going to put the 5 right here. And then that player is complete. This player is going to look at their cards. They're going to say, you know what, I want to go for this one. So you'll take the second player card out, and you'll slide them in like so. It's really easy to slide into. They did a good job. There we go. Slides right in. This player would receive 4 of them because there's 4 pips on the bottom. So this player would get 4 of these. Okay. So you do that just like so. This player looks at their cards and they say, well, shoot, they all got 5 or 6 here. Boy, I got some hard ones here. So I'm going to go ahead, and this one has 5 pips. He's going to go ahead and slide this in here like so. Okay. Put the second card in the box, and he's going to get 5 pips, or 5 favor tokens here. One more. Okay. And you have the final player. He's going to go after his 2 cards. And let's see, he's probably going to go, let's go for this one here. Okay, put that one in the box. He's going to slide it into his player template, like so. And he will get 5 favor tokens as well. There's the 5. Okay. So after you can figure out which window you're going to try to complete, you'll also have the round token right here. So you're going to have that on the top, and the round track, I should say. Then every player is going to receive one of these, and this is called the private objective cards. They have 1 color of each die that is inside the game. What you're trying to do is you're going to try to get as many of this color die on your board, and at the end of the game, you total up the numbers on your die. So say, for instance, red is your color, and you have, say you have 3 reds on your board, and they're all 5s. Then you would score 15 points for that. But no one else needs to know you're private because it's private. This is your private card. So these are the color dice you're going to try to obtain, and these are one of your ways you're going to get points. So each player is going to get one of these cards, and they're going to keep it private to themselves. And then the final 5th card, or however many extra cards, will go into the box. Okay? Now, what you're going to do with these is you're going to take the top 3 from here, and these are going to be the ways you're going to try to score points in the game. So, for instance, on this one, rose shade variety, rose with no repeated values. So what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to get 5 horizontally different values across. For each one of those rows you can complete that, you get 5 points, which shows in the lower left-hand corner. Okay? You're going to draw 3 of these in the game. So the next card will be deep shade, sets of 5 and 6 values anywhere. So every time you have a pair of 5 and 6, it does not have to be next to each other or adjacent to each other. It's anywhere on the board. 5, 6, 5, 6, whatever, however many pairs you have, you'll get 2 points for each pair that is on your board. And finally, the row color variety. So for each row, horizontal row that you get that are different colors, you will get 6 points for each one of those rows. So those are the 3 cards we'll be playing with in this game. Now here are the tool cards. The tool cards are the ones that are pretty much rule breakers. And what they do is they allow you to usually move your dice on the board, kind of doing an illegal move to try to help you out. And that's when these favor tokens come into play. You actually have to pay favor tokens to be able to do these tools. So let's go ahead and show you what tools we're going to use. We'll go ahead and move these over here. That way I can put the tool cards here. So in this one, move any one die in your window, ignoring color restrictions. So in this case, you can move any one of your die to a color that it doesn't correspond with. Like for instance, in that one, you see it's a red 3, but you could move that onto a blue square, which I'll go over the squares in a moment. So this will be one of the tools you get to use, and I will show you how that works. Lens cutter. After drafting, swap the drafted die with the die from the round track. So I will go ahead and I'll show you how that works as soon as we start. And our third tool of the game is going to be move any one die in your window, ignoring value restrictions. Okay, so these will make sense in one moment. And you're going to draw 3 of those as well. The rest go in the box. Okay, and that's pretty much the setup of the game. Each player gets the template. Each player gets a player card that they slide in. Each player gets their private color that they're trying to go for. These are the 3 colors. These are the 3 that you're trying to get points for. These are your tools. Here is the rounds. And what you're going to do is each player, the amount of dice that you roll is the number of players times 2 plus 1. So in this case, we have 4 players. You're going to times that by 2, which is 8 plus 1 is 9. So every time a player starts, you're going to grab 9 dice from the bag. Okay? It's kind of hard to count 9, but let's see. You got 3, 6. Ooh, I missed that by 1. Okay? So you're going to grab 9 dice just blindly out of the bag, and you're going to roll them. I should have brought my dice thing out here. So what we'll do is just roll them. Okay? And this is what you're looking at. So let me go ahead and put these down here so you can see them a little better. Okay? Because these dice are pretty tiny. They have to fit in little squares. Now, these are the rules in the game. The very, very first die that you place on your stained glass window has to be on the outside. All right? So once you play a die, the next die will have to be adjacent to it or diagonally. It could be either way, as long as it's touching one way or another. So, for instance, in this roll, I have a yellow 6. Now, I have a yellow square here. If I wanted to, I can place this here. Okay? So let's go ahead and place... So this player is going to go ahead and choose to put the yellow 6 there, because it has to be a yellow die that goes into that square. Now, you'll also see numbers in here as well. The numbers, obviously, those numbers have to go in there. It doesn't matter what the color is. It just matters what the number is. So a 1 has to go in here, a 2 has to go in here, and a 3, and so on. So whatever number shows in there, that's the number you have to put in there. Now, the one thing you do have to remember is you cannot have 2 dice of the same color next to each other, like horizontally or vertically, and you cannot have the same value next to each other as well. Now, you can have them the same diagonally, but you cannot have them around, say, for instance, adjacent to the die. Okay? So say, for instance, this 6 here, I would not be able to put this here. The colors would be okay, but the values are not. You cannot have, or if there was another yellow die, or say I had a blue here, blue like a 5 here, I cannot put another blue die next to it like that. You cannot do that. So no 2 colors are the same. No 2 of the values can be the same unless it is diagonally from each other. That you can do. Okay? Okay. So you got to keep that in mind when you're, especially if I was putting a yellow 6 here. If I had a 6 here or here, I wouldn't want to put that yellow 6 there because that would not allow me to do that. Now, you do have the tools you can use later on, but I'll get to that in one moment. So now player 2 is going to look at the remaining die and choose a die that they want to start off with. And remember, it has to be one on the outside. So, for instance, on this one, unfortunately, the yellow die was taken, but he does have a blue die he can use, but he would not be able to use... Oh, no, he can because it's diagonally. He would be able to do that. But what we'll do is going to go ahead and put the blue 6 here. Okay, as long as it's on the outside, that is a legal move. So now the third player is going to look at theirs, and they're going to say, okay, well, there's a 4 here. I can go ahead and put this 4 right here, and that is totally legal. Then you have the fourth player over here. Geez, he has all sorts of numbers up on top here. So he's going to go, okay, well, as long as it's on the outside, I'm going to go ahead and take this, let's see here. He's going to go ahead and take this 5 and put it in that corner. So now all players have done on the outside. Now this is how the turns work. The first player, second player, third player, fourth player, now it's going to go backwards in turn. So the fourth player is now going to get a second turn, second turn, second turn, second turn. So it goes one way, and then it comes back the other way. That's how the turns go. So now he's going to get a second die right away. It has to be adjacent or diagonally to that die. And remember, if it's right next to it, it cannot be a 5 or a blue die. Okay? So he's going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and place a purple... Let's see here, what do I want to do? Because he wants to keep track of these as well. He wants different numbers going this way, and he wants different colors going this way as well. So he wants to keep that in mind, that way he can score points. That's how you score points in the game. So he's going to go ahead and put a 4 here. That's totally legal. Okay? It's right next to it. It's different colors, and it's a different number. Then you go back to player 3. Player 3 is going to go, okay, I'll go ahead and put this red 1 right here. Player 2 is going to look and say, okay, I got a green die here. I can probably use that. So I'm going to go ahead and use that here, as long as it's touching or diagonally. And then the last player will look and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and use this red 1 right here. Okay. Now, all players have taken their 2 turns. What you're going to do is, here is the round track, and the last die that's remaining is going to go up onto the round track. that tells you that round 1 is now complete. Okay? Now player 2 is going to reach in here and grab 9 dice. 1, 2, 3. Wow, 9 dice, right on the money. Perfect. Now player 2 is going to roll the dice. Okay? Here are the dice here. And now he begins to try to build his. So right now he's got a yellow die here he could use. You can also put a 3 here. And that's what he's probably going to do. There's a 3 right there. He's going to go ahead and put the 3 right there. Okay. Now it's going to go to player 3. Player 3 is going to look and say, okay, so you can't put the 1 here because that's right next to the 1. And the 4 you cannot put here because it's right next to another 4. So you got to be careful about that. Okay. Now he could put the 4 here if he wanted to, because what's nice is it's diagonally from it, so you can do that, and it's not the same color or the same value, so you're good. He's going to go ahead and place the 4 there. Then you have player 4 over here. He can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put this 1 here. And then now player 1 is going to look. He goes, you know what, I have a 2 right there. There's a 2 right here. I'm going to go ahead and use this 2. Because he wants to try to do different colors. Yes, he could have put the yellow 2 there, but that would have eliminated that point right here, the row color variety. So you want to kind of keep an eye. Now, sometimes you might not have a choice. You might have to just use it. All right. But, you know, you want to try to get those points. So he wants to keep it different. So now player 1, now all players have done 1 turn. So now player 1 goes a second time. Okay. So now it goes reverse. So now player 2 is going to go ahead and do another one. He's going to say, okay, well, here's a 5 right here. So let's go ahead and put a green 5 right there. Okay. Now it goes back to player 4. Player 4 is going to look and see what is remaining. He's going to say, okay, now he doesn't want to put a yellow 4 or yellow 2 right here because he needs to have a yellow die here. So he has to be very careful with that. He can't put the green 5 there because it's right next to another 5. And the blue 1 he can't put here because obviously it's the same color next to it. So the only option he really has here is probably this green 5 to go diagonally. And that's what he's going to do. Put that just like that. And that is okay. Okay, so now, because diagonally is okay, it's just all next to it. Okay? So now it's going to go back to player 3. Player 3 is going to look and see what he has. He does not want to put the 2 here because he has a 2 here. But he can put the yellow 2 there if he wants to because it's diagonally from it. So you know what? That's what he's going to do. Okay? And then we go back to player 2. Player 2 is going to look and say, you know what? That yellow 4 is going to go right perfect right in that corner. Just like that. And there you have it. There is round 2 is taken care of. The remaining die is over here. And you're going to put it in round 2. So now 2 rounds are now complete. Now this is what happens when you want to use one of these tools. Let me go ahead and show you how this works. So say we roll the die here. We're going to roll, this is player 3's turn. Player 3 is going to roll, let's see if I got, no, that's way too many. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh wow, I did way too many. Last time I got it perfect, and this time I went way over. 3, 6, 9. Okay, there's 9 dice here. Put these back in the bag. And let's take a look and see what he's going to roll here. He's going to roll these. Okay, there we go. So there are the rolls. Okay. So here's the tools, and what happens is when you want to use a tool, the first person to pay for the tool, it only costs them 1 favor token. Now let's look at this one. After drafting, swap the drafted die with the die from the round track. So if there is a die up here that you really want, so say you're looking at these and you're like, oh man, I can't use any of these, but I can sure use that 1 right there. I can really use that 1. So what you can do is you can take one of these die and swap it out with one of these die. So say you're going, okay, I could really use that blue die to keep this going. So what he's going to do is he's going to go ahead and take one of these die, swap it with one of these. And then he's going to replace this with this. And now since he's the first player to do that, he's going to take one of these and place it here. And that's how that works. So you can take one from the round track. So that does make a difference, you putting those dice on there, because you can actually come back later and use those to fulfill whatever you got. So for instance, in this, the colors are actually still in play here. Now unfortunately you're not going to get the this one here because you have to have different numbers across the way. So you would actually sacrifice that. But you actually, in this case, you'll still get the colors. So the colors are still different. So that's good. The last one. Move any die in your window, ignoring value restrictions. So it's pretty much the same as... Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the color, but you're moving it. For instance, in this green 5 here, if I want to say, you know what, I want to move this, I'm going to pay 1 because I'm the first player to use it. And now you can move a die, and it doesn't matter what this is. But you still have to follow the color restrictions. You just don't have to follow the number restrictions. So in this case, I can just move this 5 right over here, ignore the 6, and there you have it. There's my 5 points right there. Oh, I'm sorry, this is 6 points for the row color variety. So just like that, I was able to move that over here, ignore that 6 because I just paid to ignore the value. And just like that, you completed a row and you're going to get 6 points for that row. So you can see how those tools can work. Now say if you're the second player that has to use this, then it will cost you 2 favor tokens. So if this player wanted to use this, they'd have to pay 2. 2 of these. And then you do whatever you want to do. So you can see that the pips on the bottom of those cards can really come in handy. But of course, the more pips you have, the more difficult your player piece is. So, and then from there on out, it's always going to be 2. So as soon as everyone uses it once, it's going to be 2, 2, 2. It's never more than 2. So it doesn't go 1, 2, and then 3, and then 4. Now it stays 2 favor tokens after everyone's used it once. Okay. And at the end of the game, what you do is you score. Hopefully, all of your pieces will be covered. There's going to be a time or two where you're not going to be able to place a die. So if you say it's your turn and you're not able to place a die, you just leave it in the drafting thing, and then you have to pass. Okay. All the other players go, and say at the end of the one player couldn't do it, and you have 2 dice left over, then you place these 2 dice into the round track. Now you can stack them or you can do this. It doesn't matter. It's probably better to do it this way. Because remember later on, if you want to use the draft the die, you can use any one of those dice. Now you have 2 dice you could choose from in that row to draft if you want to use that. Okay. So that's what happens there. Now for every square that you leave at the end of the game, it's minus 1 point. Okay, I want to throw that out there as well. So how you would score at the end of the game, once all your windows are complete, you would look at every row and make sure how many of these are, the different numbers. Now it says shades, and shade, in other words, is numbers. That's what that means. There is no different shades. Shade, the colors mean colors, and then the shades mean the values on the dice. You'll see a shade variety. I'm like, what's shade? Because what they do is you can see that every number has a different shade. 1 being the lightest shade, and 6 is really dark. So that's what shade means in this game. So for instance, in this player, obviously we're not full. This player would get 5 points for every row that has different numbers across the way. Then every time you have a 5 and 6, you would get 2 points for every one of these pairs. Like for instance here, you have a 5 and 6 here, so that would be 2 points here. All right. And let's say for instance that you have, but you have to be in pairs, so you can't have, let's just say you have 2 5s on there and 1 6. It's for each pair. So this would be 2 points, but that 5 wouldn't go any farther because you don't have another 6 on there. And if you have another 6 on there somewhere, then you would get 4 points. You have 1 here, times that by 2, so you have 4 points for every pair. This one obviously is the color row. So for instance, in this one, he got the color row, so you would get 6 points for this. This one, unfortunately, he messed up here because he has 2 1s in this row, so he would not get the 5 points for that. But he did get the colors across the way, so he gets 6 points for every one of those. So after you total these 3 cards in your thing, then you'll decide, okay, for every one that you're missing, you'll go minus 1 point. And remember, at the end of the game, you'd have dice and all these, so you just take them off. You would flip this over. Oops, I have it upside down. Sorry. You would flip this over, and this is your scoring track now. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these little tokens that are in here. I showed you at the very beginning with all the components. They're very tiny, so you got to be careful not to lose them. They're very, very small. And each player will have their corresponding color. Okay, so let's just say, see, here's red. So you would take the red token here, And then what you would do is you would start counting your points. Okay, I got 2 rows of these, so that's 10 points. Okay, then I got 2 pairs of these, so that's 4 more points. You make it 14. Okay, I got 3 of these rows, so that's 18 more points. So what you do is you move it over to 32. Once you go past 50, you would move your player token over, and you can see here there is a 50 on the back. Okay, so then what we do is once you pass 50, you flip it over to 50, and then you go like so. Okay, and you get -1 point. Then at the very end, you would look to see what your private color was, and you would total up all the colors on your board. Not the number of dice that you have, but the value of the dice. Okay, so for instance, I know we didn't finish this, but purple, this would be 4 points. You have red, you get 1 point. Yellow, you get 4 points on this. Green, say you had a couple greens like so. Then, for instance, in this one, he would get 11 points for adding all those points. And that is the game. So what you do is you total all the points here. You total all your points here. You -1 for every window that you left. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the Sagrada Master.